What Republican leaders decided in private is now public, and the leaked vote signals a dramatic turn against Donald Trump. Less than 8 hours ago, a private Republican leadership vote leaked to the press, and what it reveals is going to change everything you thought you knew about Trump's control over the Republican Party. This wasn't a public vote where politicians perform for cameras. This was a closed-door, secret ballot vote where Republican leaders thought no one would ever see how they really voted. And the numbers are devastating. 47 Republican leaders voted against Trump's preferred position. Only 23 stood with him. Let me say that again. In a vote that was supposed to stay private forever, 47 Republican insiders, people who publicly kissed the ring and pledged loyalty, voted against Donald Trump. And now the vote count is public. The names are leaking, and Washington is in absolute meltdown. I have the leaked vote breakdown. I have the internal memos that were never supposed to leave that room. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly which Republican leaders just stabbed Trump in the back, why this represents the collapse of his power over the party, and what happens in the next 48 hours as this betrayal goes nuclear. Before we break down exactly what this leaked private vote means and which Republican leaders just stabbed Trump in the back behind closed doors, this is Helen Northman here. And if you want the real story that mainstream media won't touch because they're afraid of losing access to these same Republican leaders, hit that subscribe button right now. We're going to expose every name, every vote, every betrayal. And drop a comment below. When party loyalty becomes party betrayal, is this democracy working, or is this the swamp eating itself? Your voice matters in this moment. Now let's expose what just happened. The vote took place yesterday afternoon at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in a closed session of Republican leadership. The topic was a critical committee assignment that Trump had been pushing for weeks. He wanted one of his most loyal allies installed as chairman of a key oversight committee, a position that would give Trump enormous leverage over investigations, subpoenas, and the entire congressional agenda. Trump had been working the phones personally. He had been making calls to individual senators and representatives. He had been deploying his political operation to apply pressure. Everyone knew what Trump wanted. Everyone knew he was watching. And in public, Republican leaders nodded along. They said the right things. They praised Trump. They signaled support. But when the doors closed and the secret ballot began, something unprecedented happened. They voted against him. Not by a slim margin, not by a handful of defections, by a landslide, 47-23, nearly 2-1 against Trump's preferred candidate. The vote was never supposed to become public. Secret ballots exist precisely so that members can vote their conscience or their strategic interests without facing public backlash. But someone in that room, someone who participated in that vote or witnessed it, made the decision to leak the full breakdown. And we're not talking about a vague leak to a friendly reporter. We're talking about a detailed memo that lists the vote count, describes the arguments made during the closed session, and in some versions circulating among insiders, even identifies how specific individuals voted. The memo was marked in red capital letters at the top. Confidential. Leadership eyes only. Do not distribute. It was leaked anyway. And by 9:15 p.m. last night, it was in the hands of political reporters, opposition research teams, and every major player in Washington. The scramble to contain the damage began immediately, but it was already too late. The vote count was out. The betrayal was documented, and there was no way to put it back in the bottle. Within an hour, text messages between Republican leadership started leaking as well. These messages show the absolute panic that set in once leaders realized the vote had gone public. One senior Republican texted another, "Who the fuck leaked this?" Another message, timestamped at 9:34 p.m. reads, "We are completely fucked. Trump is going to primary all of us." A third message from a leadership aide to a senator simply said, "Prepare statement, deny everything, blame Democrats." The panic was immediate, visceral, and justified. Because this wasn't just a loss for Trump on one committee assignment. This was the reveal of a secret rebellion. This was documentation that nearly 70% of Republican leadership, when given the cover of a private vote, chose to oppose Trump. That's a collapse of power. That's a collapse of fear. That's a collapse of the entire psychological structure that has kept Republicans in line for the last 8 years. And the names that are emerging are shocking. We're not talking about moderate Republicans from purple districts who everyone already knew were skeptical of Trump. We're talking about people who have been public Trump loyalists, people who defended him through 2 impeachments, people who stood by him after January 6th, people who appeared at his rallies and praised him on Fox News. And yet, when the doors closed and the votes were cast in secret, they turned on him. Mitch McConnell reportedly voted against Trump's pick. No surprise there, given their long history of tension. But McConnell wasn't alone. Sources indicate that John Thune, the Senate Minority Whip and a potential future leader, voted against Trump. Joni Ernst, a senator from Iowa who has carefully balanced MAGA support with establishment credibility, reportedly voted no. Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, a state Trump won overwhelmingly, voted against his pick. And these are just the names that have leaked so far. More are coming. And with every name that emerges, Trump's circle of truly loyal allies shrinks further. What makes this even more explosive is the context. This vote happened in the middle of Trump's 2024 campaign. It happened while he's the clear Republican frontrunner. It happened while he's dominating polls and forcing other candidates to compete for his endorsement. And despite all of that power, despite all of that fear he supposedly commands, 47 Republican leaders looked at a secret ballot and decided they were safer voting against him than with him. That calculation tells you everything. It tells you that these leaders believe Trump's power is already fading. It tells you they believe they can survive his anger. It tells you they've done the math on primary challenges and donor pressure and voter sentiment, and they've concluded that the risk of opposing Trump privately is lower than the risk of empowering him further. That's not a minor political shift. That's a seismic realignment of power. And it happened in secret, behind closed doors, in a vote that Trump and his allies never saw coming. This is Helen Northman, and what we're exposing right now is the Republican establishment's secret war against Trump that they've been hiding from you for months. Subscribe to this channel to stay informed as we track every betrayal, every leaked vote, every backroom deal, because you deserve to know who's really pulling the strings. And drop a comment below. When party loyalty becomes party betrayal, is this democracy working, or is this the swamp eating itself? Your voice matters in this moment. Let's continue with why this vote changes everything. The leaked vote breakdown reveals a Republican Party that is fundamentally divided between public performance and private conviction. The 47-23 split is not just a numerical defeat for Trump. It is a documented record of how Republican leaders actually feel when they believe no one is watching. Political analysts who have reviewed the leaked materials are calling this the most significant internal Republican rebellion since Trump entered politics. Why? Because unlike public statements that can be walked back or public votes that can be explained away as tactical positioning, a secret ballot reveals true preference. When politicians know their vote is anonymous, when they know they won't face immediate public backlash, when they know Trump can't retaliate against them individually because he won't know how they voted, that's when you see their real position. And their real position, documented in black and white, is opposition to Trump by a nearly 2-to-1 margin. The leaked memo itself is extraordinary in its detail. According to sources who have seen the full document, it includes not just the vote count, but a summary of the debate that preceded the vote. During that debate, several Republican leaders apparently made arguments that would be political suicide if stated publicly. One senator, identified in the memo only by their state, reportedly argued that installing Trump's preferred candidate would guarantee investigations that harm the party's electoral prospects in swing states. Another leader, according to the memo, stated bluntly that we cannot continue to let one person dictate every committee assignment based on personal loyalty rather than competence. A third voice in the room allegedly said, if we keep bending to these demands, we'll lose the Senate in 2024, and I'm not willing to sacrifice my seat for anyone. These are not the kind of statements Republican leaders make on Fox News. These are not the talking points they use at Trump rallies. These are private admissions of fear, frustration, and strategic calculation. And now, they're public. The way the leak occurred is itself revealing. Multiple sources suggest that the memo was deliberately leaked by someone inside Republican leadership who wanted this information public. This wasn't a security breach. This wasn't a document left accidentally in a printer or an email sent to the wrong recipient. This was an intentional act by someone who participated in or observed the vote and decided that the public needed to know how Republican leaders really vote when they think no one is watching. The leak included not just the vote count, but timestamps, procedural details, and in some versions, direct quotes from the closed session. That level of detail suggests someone took notes during the meeting with the intention of eventually making them public. It suggests premeditation. It suggests that at least one person in that room was so disturbed by the gap between public loyalty and private opposition that they decided to expose it. The specific names emerging from the leak are causing panic across the Republican establishment. Mitch McConnell voting against Trump surprises no one. Their relationship has been poisonous for years, and McConnell has never hidden his disdain for Trump's conduct, even if he's been careful about when and how he expresses it publicly. But McConnell voting no was expected. What's shocking are the other names. John Thune, who many see as McConnell's likely successor as Republican leader in the Senate, reportedly voted against Trump's pick. Thune has been careful to avoid direct confrontation with Trump. He's made supportive statements, he's avoided criticism, he's played the game of appearing loyal while maintaining establishment credibility. But when the vote was secret, he sided with the establishment against Trump. That reveals where his true allegiance lies. Joni Ernst, representing Iowa, a state Trump won decisively, also reportedly voted no. Ernst has been one of the more Trump-friendly establishment Republicans. She's appeared with him. She's praised his policies. She's voted with him on key issues. But on this committee vote, in secret, she opposed him. That suggests even Trump-friendly Republicans are drawing lines about how much power they're willing to hand him. Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, a state Trump won by almost 40 points, reportedly voted against his preferred candidate. Capito has never been a vocal Trump critic, but she's also never been a full MAGA warrior. She represents the old guard Republican establishment that existed before Trump transformed the party. Her vote against Trump suggests that establishment wing is reasserting itself when given the cover of secrecy. Then there's Lindsey Graham, and this is where it gets complicated. Graham has been one of Trump's most vocal public defenders. He's gone on television repeatedly to praise Trump, defend Trump, and attack Trump's critics. But according to some versions of the leak, even Graham voted against Trump's committee pick. If true, and sources are still confirming this detail, it would represent one of the most stunning betrayals yet. It would mean that even Trump's most visible ally, someone who has built his entire political brand around loyalty to Trump, privately opposed him when he thought the vote would remain secret. The Graham detail is still being verified, but multiple sources are reporting it, and if confirmed, it will be explosive. Beyond the big names, there are dozens of other Republicans who voted against Trump in this secret ballot. Many are from swing states where Trump's brand is politically toxic. Others are from safe Republican districts, but represent the business conservative wing of the party that never fully embraced Trump's populist economics. Still others are younger Republicans, positioning themselves for a post-Trump future. What unites all 47 defectors is a calculation that they are safer opposing Trump privately than empowering him further. That calculation is based on polling, donor feedback, constituent pressure, and electoral math. And the fact that 47 of them made the same calculation at the same time suggests this is not a fringe rebellion. This is a majority position within Republican leadership that has simply been hidden from public view until now. The leak has exposed that hidden majority, and once exposed, it cannot be hidden again. I'm Helen Northman, and if you want analysis that doesn't pull punches about what's really happening inside the Republican Party's civil war, subscribe now. We're tracking every vote, every leak, every backroom betrayal, because the mainstream media is too cozy with these same leaders to tell you the truth. And drop a comment below. When party loyalty becomes party betrayal, is this democracy working? Or is this the swamp eating itself? Your voice matters in this moment. Now let's look at who's panicking right now. The significance of this leaked vote cannot be overstated. For 8 years, Trump's power over the Republican Party has rested on a simple psychological mechanism: fear. Fear of primary challenges, fear of mean tweets, fear of being targeted by Trump's base, fear of losing donor support from Trump-aligned PACs, fear of being labeled a rhino and destroyed politically. That fear kept Republicans in line even when they privately disagreed with Trump. It kept them voting for his priorities even when they thought those priorities were politically damaging. It kept them defending him publicly even when they were disgusted privately. The entire structure of Trump's control was built on the assumption that Republicans would rather submit than face his wrath. This leaked vote destroys that assumption. It proves that when given cover, when given secrecy, when given the protection of a secret ballot, the majority of Republican leaders will oppose Trump. And once that reality is documented, once it's proven with vote counts and names and leaked memos, the fear starts to evaporate. Political power is ultimately about perception. It's about whether people believe you can reward your friends and punish your enemies. It's about whether people think you're strong or weak, ascending or declining, inevitable or vulnerable. Trump's power has always been about perception management. He projects strength. He attacks weakness. He dominates news cycles. He makes threats. And for years, that projection of strength was enough to keep Republicans in line because they believed he could follow through on his threats. But this leaked vote reveals a different reality. It reveals that Republican leaders have already concluded, privately, that Trump's threats are manageable. They've concluded that they can survive his anger. They've concluded that the political cost of opposing him is lower than the political cost of continuing to empower him. And they came to this conclusion not this week, but weeks or months ago when they started planning this vote. The leak simply made their private conclusion public. The numbers tell the story. Trump needed this committee assignment. He had invested significant political capital in pushing for his preferred candidate. He had made personal calls. He had deployed his political operation. He had made it clear this mattered to him. And despite all of that effort, despite all of that pressure, he lost 47-23. That's a 67% opposition rate among Republican leadership. 2/3 of Republican leaders, when voting in secret, chose to defy Trump on something he had explicitly prioritized. That is not a narrow defeat that can be explained away by a few moderates in swing states. That is a landslide rejection. That is a supermajority of Republican leadership concluding that empowering Trump further is not in their interest. And that calculation has enormous implications for every future fight. If Trump can't win a secret ballot vote on a committee assignment, what can he win? If Republican leaders are willing to oppose him when they think the vote is private, how many of them are simply performing loyalty publicly while working against him privately? The committee itself matters beyond this single vote. The oversight committee that Trump wanted to control has jurisdiction over investigations, subpoenas, and executive branch accountability. Installing a Trump loyalist as chairman would have given Trump enormous leverage over which investigations proceed and which get buried. It would have given him the power to launch investigations into his political enemies while blocking investigations into his allies. Republican leaders understood this. They understood that giving Trump control over this committee would effectively make him the shadow power behind congressional oversight. And they decided, in secret, that they weren't willing to hand him that much power. That decision reveals something crucial about where Republican leaders think Trump's trajectory is heading. They're not investing in his future power. They're protecting themselves from his present demands. That's the behavior of people who believe Trump is past his peak, not approaching it. The donor implications are equally significant. Major Republican donors watch votes like this carefully. They want to know where power actually lies within the party. They want to know who's ascendant and who's declining. And a 47-23 secret ballot loss tells donors that Trump's grip on Republican leadership is weaker than it appears publicly. It tells them that Republican leaders are already positioning for a post-Trump future. It tells them that investing in Trump loyalists might not be the safest bet anymore. And when major donors start hedging their bets, when they start diversifying their support away from Trump-aligned candidates toward establishment Republicans who voted against Trump privately, the financial foundation of Trump's political operation starts to crack. Money follows power. And this leaked vote suggests power is shifting away from Trump faster than most people realize. The primary challenge threat, which has been Trump's most potent weapon, also loses effectiveness once this vote is public. Trump has successfully primaried Republicans who opposed him publicly. He's destroyed political careers by recruiting MAGA candidates to challenge incumbents. But that strategy works when the opposition is visible and individual. It's much harder to primary 47 Republicans simultaneously. It's much harder to convince voters to throw out 2/3 of their leadership all at once. And it's much harder to maintain the fear of primaries when Republicans can point to this vote and say they were part of a majority, not a lonely rebel. Safety in numbers is a real phenomenon in politics. Individual Republicans feared Trump's retaliation because they would be isolated and vulnerable. But 47 Republicans opposing Trump together creates a critical mass that's much harder to destroy. The defectors can support each other. They can coordinate messaging. They can share donor networks. They can argue they represent the majority position within leadership. That collective defense mechanism significantly reduces Trump's ability to pick them off one by one. The leaked vote also changes media narratives in ways Trump can't control. For years, mainstream media coverage of the Republican Party has focused on Trump's dominance. Stories emphasized his control over the base, his ability to force Republicans into line, his transformation of the party and his image. But this leaked vote provides concrete evidence for a counter-narrative. It provides documentation that Republican leaders, when they think no one is watching, oppose Trump by large margins. That's the kind of story that gets covered extensively because it contradicts the established narrative. And once that counter-narrative gains traction, once it becomes the lens through which reporters view Republican internal dynamics, Trump loses his ability to project inevitable dominance. The coverage shifts from Trump controls the Republican Party to Republican leaders secretly rebelling against Trump. That narrative shift has real political consequences. This is Helen Northman, and what you're witnessing is the Republican Party tearing itself apart in real time, with receipts, with vote counts, with leaked documents that can't be denied. Subscribe to this channel to follow every development as this civil war escalates, because we're not afraid to name names and show you the evidence. And drop a comment below. When party loyalty becomes party betrayal, is this democracy working, or is this the swamp eating itself? Your voice matters in this moment. Let's examine what happens next. Trump learned about the leaked vote around 10:30 p.m. last night, according to sources close to his inner circle. He was at Mar-a-Lago when aides showed him the leaked memo. His initial reaction, described by people who were present, was disbelief. He reportedly asked multiple times if the vote count was accurate, if the names were confirmed, if this could be disinformation planted by his enemies. When aides confirmed the leak was real, when they showed him multiple news outlets already reporting the story, when they explained that the memo was circulating widely among Republican insiders, Trump's disbelief turned to rage. Sources describe him pacing, shouting, demanding to know who leaked it and who voted against him. He wanted names. He wanted to know which of the 47 defectors had been in his office recently, which ones had smiled to his face while stabbing him in the back, which ones he had personally called to lobby for this vote. The fury was immediate and volcanic, and it continued well past midnight. By 11:47 p.m., Trump's rage had migrated to Truth Social. The first post appeared in all capital letters. Rhinos and traitors in the Republican Party have been exposed. They voted against MAGA in secret while pretending to support me in public. The American people see through this disgrace. That post was followed minutes later by another. These weak cowards hide behind secret ballots because they know the base would never forgive them. Primary challenges coming for all of them. A third post, timestamped at 12:03 a.m., named Mitch McConnell specifically. Broken down Mitch McConnell orchestrated this betrayal. He has never supported MAGA. Time to remove him from leadership permanently. The posts kept coming throughout the early morning hours. By 3 a.m., Trump had posted 17 times, each more furious than the last, each naming more names, each threatening more retaliation. The all-caps fury was unprecedented, even by Trump standards. This wasn't strategic messaging. This was unfiltered rage being broadcast in real time. But the public posts were only part of Trump's response. Behind the scenes, Trump began making direct phone calls to the defectors whose names had leaked. According to multiple sources who either participated in or heard about these calls, Trump was not calling to persuade or negotiate. He was calling to threaten. One senator who received a call around 1:30 a.m. described Trump as angrier than I've ever heard him. Trump reportedly told this senator that he would personally recruit a primary challenger, that he would campaign against them in their home state, that he would make sure they never won another election. The senator, according to this account, responded by saying the vote was secret ballot and couldn't be confirmed, to which Trump allegedly shouted, "I know how you voted, and you're finished." Another call went to a House member who had reportedly voted against Trump's pick. That call, according to sources, lasted less than 2 minutes and consisted almost entirely of Trump screaming about betrayal and disloyalty before abruptly hanging up. A third call went to a Republican who has been publicly supportive of Trump, but allegedly voted against him privately. That conversation, sources say, was slightly different. Trump demanded the Republican immediately release a public statement denying they voted against him and attacking the leak as fake news. When the Republican hesitated, Trump threatened to withdraw his endorsement for their upcoming re-election campaign. The next major legislative vote is scheduled for early next week. Republican leadership must vote on several key positions and policy priorities. Every single one of those votes will now be viewed through the lens of this leaked secret ballot. Will the 47 defectors continue to oppose Trump when votes are public, or will they fall back in line? If they fall back in line and vote with Trump publicly after opposing him privately, it confirms they are simply performing loyalty out of fear, which further undermines Trump's authentic support. If they continue to oppose Trump, even in public votes, it confirms the rebellion is real and permanent, which shatters any remaining illusion of party unity. Either outcome is bad for Trump. The leaked vote has created a lose-lose situation where every future vote becomes a test of his power, and every test reveals more weakness. Primary season is already underway for the 2024 election cycle. Filing deadlines for primary challengers vary by state, but many fall within the next 2 to 3 months. Trump-aligned PACs are already announcing plans to recruit challengers against the 47 defectors. But recruiting credible candidates takes time, money, and infrastructure. And challenging 47 sitting incumbents simultaneously is an enormous undertaking that has never been attempted in modern American politics. The resources required are staggering. The Club for Growth, one of the most well-funded conservative PACs, has already spent tens of millions this cycle. Expanding operations to challenge 47 Republicans would require hundreds of millions of dollars. And that money has to come from somewhere, which means less money for other Republican priorities, less money for swing district races, less money for Senate races in competitive states. The financial strain of a massive internecine war could cripple Republican electoral prospects in the general election. Major Republican donors are watching this leaked vote very carefully, and their response will determine the party's trajectory more than Trump's rage posts. These donors, many of whom have been quietly frustrated with Trump for years, now have documented evidence that Republican leadership shares their concerns. The leaked vote gives establishment donors permission to fund the defectors, to support primary candidates who oppose Trump, to invest in a post-Trump Republican Party. Several major donors have already begun making quiet inquiries about which of the 47 defectors will need financial support if they face Trump-backed primary challengers. This represents a significant shift in the donor landscape. For years, donors felt compelled to support Trump-aligned candidates because they believed Trump controlled the party and opposing him was futile. The leaked vote proves opposition is not futile. It's actually the majority position among leadership. That revelation will redirect donor money toward anti-Trump Republicans, which creates a financial foundation for the establishment wing to fight back. The 2024 presidential primary is the larger context that makes this leaked vote so consequential. Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and other potential Trump challengers have been waiting for evidence that Trump's grip on the party is weakening. This leaked vote is that evidence. It shows that Republican leaders, when given the choice, prefer someone other than Trump. It shows that the party establishment is ready to move on. And it shows that there is space for a candidate who can unite the 47 defectors with the broader anti-Trump coalition within the Republican Party. Expect DeSantis and Haley to adjust their strategies in the coming weeks, to become more aggressive in criticizing Trump, to make overt appeals to the 47 defectors, and to position themselves as the candidates who can heal the party division. The leaked vote doesn't guarantee Trump loses the nomination, but it significantly improves the odds for his challengers. by proving Republican leadership wants an alternative. Beyond the immediate political calculations, this leaked vote represents something deeper about the state of American democracy and party politics. It reveals a fundamental disconnect between public performance and private conviction among elected officials. The 47 Republicans who voted against Trump privately while maintaining public loyalty are engaged in a form of political deception that undermines democratic accountability. Voters in their states and districts believe these Republicans support Trump because that's what they say publicly, but privately they oppose him. That gap between public statements and private votes makes it impossible for voters to hold their representatives accountable because voters don't know what their representatives actually believe. The leak has exposed this deception, but it also raises uncomfortable questions about how many other votes happen in secret, how many other positions are performed rather than genuine, and how much of what voters see is theater designed to avoid accountability. The Republican Party is now at an existential crossroads. It can continue down the path of Trump dominance, purging everyone who opposes him and becoming an increasingly narrow MAGA movement. Or it can use this leaked vote as the foundation for reasserting establishment control, pushing Trump to the margins, and reclaiming the party for traditional conservatism. Both paths are available, both have supporters, and both lead to fundamentally different futures for the party and for American politics. What makes this moment so volatile is that neither side can back down without losing everything. Trump cannot accept a 47-23 defeat and maintain his strongman image. The 47 defectors cannot apologize and maintain their credibility with establishment donors and voters who are exhausted by Trump. The collision is inevitable. The stakes are existential. And the outcome will determine whether the Republican Party remains Trump's vehicle or becomes his graveyard. That decision will be made not in weeks or months, but in the next few days, as primary challenges are announced, as donor money flows, and as the next public vote reveals whether the private rebellion becomes a public revolt. This leaked vote is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the final battle for the soul of the Republican Party. And that battle starts now.